Hi, everyone. Welcome to our charter chat. We will be getting started in just a moment. Please make sure that you go through the process of renaming yourself. As you know, this presentation is being recorded, and we will move on to our agenda. Please remember to mute yourself. Keep yourself muted. You may be able to put questions into the chat. Again, this session is being recorded. However, we will only be recording in the main room. The breakout rooms are not recorded. Today, we will be talking about what's in the parking lot. We'll review questions from the field. And we also have special guest speakers here from AMARD, and we'll be discussing hot topics on both the fiscal and the program side, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms. Next slide, please. So I'm Michelle Johnson. I am the Associate Director for the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And as you know, CASI is under the auspices of the CDE. We have our team, Matt, Shalou, and Cynthia here. Mifla is off today. And next slide, please. We also happen to have Tom Hutton here, who's the Executive Director from CCAP. Dave and Debbie are off. So we'll be providing as much information as we can. I will say that Tom is actually with Amanda over at Sac City, and we thank Amanda for being one of our facilitators for our breakout rooms. Next slide, please. So we are now at the parking lot. We receive many questions on a variety of topics. Some we do not have answers for, but we are collaborating with the appropriate divisions at the CDE where guidance is being developed. We wanted to make sure that all of you know that we hear you and your questions are not being ignored, so hence the parking lot. Please keep the questions coming, and we will share the guidance when we have it available. Next slide. So, Tom, take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Sac City, and thanks for Amanda for being here with me. For our next quarterly trainings, this one is going to be virtual only. So you've seen our pattern of late has been to say, this is the virtual date, and if there's enough interest locally to do one on-site, we'll do it. We're only going to go with a virtual one in January. People are back from the holidays and such. So it's on the 23rd, and we're going to be diving into some of the charter school facilities issues that confront authorizers. And we're going to be having help for that from Brianna Garcia from School Services of California. Some of you may have seen she did a session at the CCAP conference, but we're expanding upon that and building in some questions that we've received from the field since that time. So stay tuned for that. You can register at the link provided there to join us for that training. We did have also a few previous charter chat questions that came up where we just want to point you into the right direction. One person had asked, what do we know about the new mathematics framework? And how different is it? And if we could put into the chat, there's a terrific link with copious resources on the mathematics framework and at various levels of content, of grade level, of
that's what I was trying to do.
Tons of information there.
I don't.
Oh. Okay, so if we could put that link in the chat as well, we refer you there. There was a question about employee members serving on a charter school's own governing board. And is there a legal answer to that question? And the answer pretty much is if it's a public, the public benefit corporation, if you go to the corporation code, which applies generally to to those sorts of nonprofit entities? The answer is up to 49% of a board can be interested parties, the definition of which includes employees. I mean, as a matter of practice, different from the legal answer, you know, at its inception, the charter movement was envisioned as sort of a teacher empowerment tool, and that might have contemplated teachers are running the schools. I will say it's been my experience in the field that sometimes that is not looked upon as a great practice. And even there's some funders of charter schools who kind of are not interested in funding schools where employees are on the board, but that's a matter for the school. The other place, of course, to look as the authorizer is in the school's own articles of incorporation, their charter petition, their bylaws. They may dictate details about the composition of their board there, and so you'll want to cross-reference that. And then finally, there's the question about charter schools submitting renewals early. We're getting word that yes, some are. We've discussed this previously. I know that the guidance at charter schools, if you go to CCSA and hear or hear the lawyers for the charter schools, they're advising their clients that they can submit early in the sense that, you know, be very mindful of the appeal timeline to make sure that whenever you submit that renewal petition, you're affording enough time for that entire appeals process to run its course. So you'll want to take a look at that.
All right. Thanks, Tom. So at our last quarterly regional training, we shared information about charter school governance, including a resource to look up the nonprofit status of the charter school. Well, there's a correction. Please note the correction that in the original CASI October 23 regional training on slide 26, it referred to the Attorney General's Registry of Charitable Trusts. Government Code Section 12583 includes an exemption for educational institutions. All nonprofits operating charter schools should actually be found on the link on this corrected slide using the California Secretary of State business search. And we've included the link to the revised copy of the October 23 Governing Board Oversight with the corrected slide 26 content in the participant folder. Next slide. All right. So as we are going in the process of getting ready to go into our breakout rooms, please make sure you go through the process of renaming yourself, adding your name and your organization. It helps all of us as we're interacting with each other to know who we're talking to. So as you can see here on the slide, it says Michelle Johnson, Santa Clara COE. And so please take the opportunity now to make sure that you rename yourselves. Next slide.
So this will be the shortest slide of the day. We're adjourned. Stay tuned. We'll come back and talk legislature next month.
Yeah, we'll also providing information as soon as we get it. So thanks, Tom. Next slide. This is also going to be a pretty short slide. The next SBE meeting will be held on January 19th and 20th. The next advisory commission on charter schools will be held on December 5th. There was a board meeting held on November 8th and 9th, and during this meeting, the state board affirmed the denial of the New Pacific School Yuba City charter petition. Next slide. All right, we are now moving on to hot topics or information you can use right now. So Matt, take it away.
Okay, so on the program side, we have the program slide. First up is the new California school dashboard deadlines for the coming school year, 2023-24, or this school year, rather. SB 114 included new statutory deadlines for the publication of the California school dashboard and related data submission deadlines. This year, the California school dashboard will be published on or before December 15th, 2023. So that's coming up in just a couple weeks. Just as a best practice for oversight, SCCOE wanted to share what we do in terms of a mid-year review. our annual oversight activities. So we do a mid-year review in order to get a sense of how things are going, what things do we need to have set up for the spring. We do a mid-year review to take a look to prepare for any renewals that may or may not be coming up. We do our annual visits and our annual reports to be completed and in process. We double check to make sure that there are no concerns we need to follow up on. And then we also take a look at documents that are coming due that we might want to take a look at to get a sense of, school governance quality, such as SARC, mid-year LCAP reviews, site safety plan. SARC is due February 1, mid-year LCAP is due February 28. Site safety plan is due March 1st, and then the Form 700s are due by April 1st. So just think about that during breakout sessions. You might want to think about what mid-year reviews are you conducting right now? You have any best practices to share, or you have questions about what other mid-year best practices might be? What planning do you need to look at for the rest of the school year? So now I'd like to hand it over to Justin Lane from the CDE Analysis, Measurement, and Accountability Reporting Division for our special guest presentation.
Thank you, Matt. My name is Justin Lane. I work in the Analysis, Measurement, Accountability Reporting Division. And we specifically are our office under the administration of Kimberly Muntank. We are responsible for the dashboard and differentiated assistance for all LEAs, including charter schools. And as Matt mentioned, the dashboard will be released, though Matt, not before December 15th. It will be released on December 15th. And along with releasing the dashboard, we also will be releasing differentiated determinations for charter schools for the first time since 2019. So under the LCFF statute, charter schools are eligible for differentiated assistance based on 2 or more years at the student group performance in 2 or more LCFF priority areas, performance on the local indicators in 2 or more priority areas, or a combination of both, the local indicators and in one area, and then the state indicator in another priority based off of student group performance. And so in the next slide, we'll be able to show you what the criteria is for the 23. So the 2 more years for this year was the 23 and 22 dashboards. If you remember, the criteria for LCFF statute changed since 2019 with the goal of the legislature to more align the charter school eligibility criteria with the district and COE charter school, the district and COE eligibility criteria. If you've been around long enough, the 2019 eligibility criteria for differentiated assistance was very complicated and convoluted based off of law, and so this is a much cleaner, more aligned eligibility criteria for charter schools, and definitely easier to explain. Next slide. So charter schools meeting differentiated assistance criteria in both dashboard years will be eligible for differentiated assistance this year. So, and you'll see it going in the next slide, charter schools that meet the criteria on the 23 dashboard will be evaluated on the next on 22. So the first thing we look at is did a charter school meet the criteria in 2023? And if they met the criteria in 2023, then we review that charter school's criteria for 22 to see if they met the criteria in 22 as well. So the 23 dashboard criteria based on the LCFF state priority areas, there's 2 slides. This is the first one, priority areas 1 through 4, 9 and 10 only apply to county offices of education. So the priorities 1, 2, and 3 are local indicators. So the not met for 2 or more years on a local performance indicator for priority areas 1, 2, and 3. For priority area 4, it's red on both the English language arts literacy indicator and the math indicators. So they have to have both red on ELA and math, or red on ELA or math indicator and orange on the other. Or they have to have red on the English learner progress indicator or the ELPI. So if they meet the criteria, so for example, a school that has a red on ELA and a red on math would meet the criteria for Prairie area 4. If they had a red on math and an orange on ELA, they would have met the criteria. Or if they just had a red on the English Learner Progress Indicator, they would have met Prairie area 4 criteria. Next slide. This slide, it goes through state priority areas 5 through 8. And so in priority area 5, red on the graduation rate indicator, or those are for high schools or high school districts, or red on the chronic absence indicator, and that is for K through 8 institutions. Priority area 6 is red on the suspension rate indicator or the local indicator not met for 2 or more years on the local performance indicator. Priority area 7 and is also local indicator only, not met for 2 or more years. And the last one is area 8, very low on the college and / career indicator. And that is the only indicator that will not have a color. All the other state indicators, ELA, math, LP, suspension rate, chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, they will all have colors. The college and / career indicator will have a status level of very low. Next slide. So again, if they've met those, if a charter school has met that criteria for a student group in for example, the homeless student group and 2 or more priority areas, then we will evaluate the 22 dashboard for that charter school, determine if they met the criteria for 22 as well. So a couple of notes about the 22 dashboard. Only priority areas 4, 5, and 6 are used for eligibility determinations. Local indicators were not used for support determinations for 22. Status levels were used in place of colors of the availability for the available state indicators. The only state indicator not available for on the 22 dashboard was the college / career indicator, and that because that was not published on the 22 dashboard. Next slide. So that with that, we have the very very condensed criteria for according to the LCFF priority areas. So priority area 4, very low on status on both the ELA, mathematics, or academic indicator. And you'll notice that for this one, there's not the third indicator, which was on the 23 dashboard. It's red on one, orange on the other. That one was removed. So we only have 2 criteria for priority area 4, very low on both the ELA and mathematics, or a very low status on the LP indicator. For area 5, very low status on the graduation rate indicator, or a very high status on chronic absenteeism indicator. Note, this is the same true with suspension rate. A very high for chronic absenteeism and suspension rate is not desirable. That's the lowest attainable level, status level for those 2 indicators. So that's why it says very high. And then school climate, priority area 6, very high status on the suspension rate. So if a charter school met the criteria for 23, we evaluate them to see if they met it in 22. And if they've met them in 22, then they will be eligible for 22 differentiated assistance criteria. I believe, is that my last slide? Yes. So back to, I'm not who sure I'm passing it to, but yes, yeah. So back to and do we have any questions in the chat? I'll take questions. Oh, Kim is handling them. And if you and for those who follow differentiated assistance under LCFF, districts and COEs are beginning this year will be eligible. If they're eligible for differentiated assistance this year, they'll be on a 2-year cycle. That 2-year cycle does not apply to charter schools. Charter schools are only on a 1-year cycle.
Thank you, Just. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, seeing no questions, I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Justin. I'll take it from here for the next slide. I hope everyone can hear me. Just a couple of reminders from the fiscal side of the house. First in term, pursuant to California Education Code 47604-3383, the first interim report is due December 15 for the period ending October 31st. Next, we'll
And
have
Education Code Section 47605M requires that by December 15 of each year, a charter school transmits a copy of its annual independent financial audit report for the preceding fiscal year to its chartering authority, the county superintendent of schools of the county in which this charter school is cited, unless the county board of education, it's the chartering authority, the state controller, and the Department of Education. Next slide.
All right, so before we jump into the breakout rooms, Justin Lane, do you want to hop back on to answer a question?
Oh, I was going to say if it's about, do you want to get into who provides DA to charters? That is not our realm of expertise.
Oh, that's not your realm.
No,
Okay.
we are just in charge of the identification. So I can safely say that that is not a question we would like to go into today.
Yeah.
Okay.
We passed off the differential assistance list and let the system of support deal with that aspect of it.
All right, then I guess we will work on getting the systems of support people to come and answer more questions about DA.
Well, I did see a question on education code from Kelly. Education code does not state consecutive for the 2 years to qualify for differential assistance. How does that work moving forward? That's a great question, and I don't know. I only focus, my team and we focus on what's in front of us. So we spend a lot of time after we produce this list. We'll spend the next several months going through business rules on what that looks, because it says 2 or more years, and how that will play out in our business rules. What's and we'll consult with different offices and people. So we don't know the answer to that. Stay tuned, I guess, next year when I hopefully will be invited back to explain the results of that.
So Joanne, thanks so much for answering the question. It's our understanding as well that differentiated is provided by the county office unless that county is the authorizer, and then it's the GO lead.
And I see another question from Allison. Is the current differentiated charter school list available? It is not. That all the dashboard differentiated assistance for districts, COEs, and charter schools will be published on Friday, December 15th.
So Justin, a question also, since you are responsible for the dashboard, do we know approximately when the new charter school list implemented by the dashboard will be out? Is that from AMARD?
December 15th. So
no, the renewal tiers, AB
the
205.
List.
Oh.
So I can hop in here.
Yes.
That will be available later in the into 2024.
So we don't know approximately. It will come out before July?
Before July, yes.
Okay.
It will come out before July, but we will provide that. Again, that is a different office than ours that Justin and I are in within AMARD, but they'll be working on that shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Kimberly. All right, so now we are coming to our breakout rooms. We're going to be jumping into 4 different rooms. If you have not renamed yourself, please make sure that you do. The breakout rooms, we're going to be putting the link for the Jamboard into, please, if you're one of the facilitators, make sure that you have that link so that you open up that Jamboard first. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good conversation. I will first off share thank you very much to Kimberly and Justin for hopping into the various rooms to get questions answered with regards to differentiated assistance. I know that there was a lot of questions. In the non-authorizer partner, we did talk a lot about differentiated assistance and the renewal tier. We also thanked CSDC for a really good conference. Moving on to the Northern group, Tom and Amanda.
All right, finding the unmute button. So we talked about a little bit about the differentiated assistance, more from the perspective of how, you know, the county offices would love to see some collaborative thinking on how the folks working on differentiated assistance are going to be communicating with the authorizers, sharing their summary of findings, but also like not making it be two separate processes, and sort of brainstormed a little bit about that. Somebody shared that they're trying to work on facilities use agreements that have more clarity on whose responsibility is what. Our friends at OUSD shared that they have a lot of examples. And I think we're all in that boat trying to work on what's best there. And then we had a discussion about we're starting to get the trickle in of audit extension requests, as some folks have said they had in previous years. The kind of consensus was good practice is to ask for a letter from the auditor, kind of explaining why and making sure it's coming from that place and not just from we didn't get our stuff done. And that was the bulk of it. I missed something.
Great. I know that SCCOE also requires not only the letter from the auditor, but we also, and Shalou or Cynthia can correct me if I'm wrong, we also asked for a copy of the resolution and a copy of the minutes.
That is correct. That is something I forgot to mention during breakouts. Good point.
Let's go to Jeff and Central.
Good morning, you all. Our conversation we was solely focused on early renewals, and there was a question about early renewals and how to treat those. And there was kind of a lingering question, a couple lingering questions on with early renewals. One, does it change the charter term if a charter is approved? And two, if a petition for an early renewal was submitted and there was a denial, does that charter then have a lame duck year where they're operating for a year towards closure? And so those were kind of two questions that we walked away with. We talked about stacking terms, and that's not something they can do. But what happens when what happens with early renewals? There were just a few questions around that, and that was basically our whole 10 minutes was about that conversation.
So I will say that I know there should not be any stacking with regards to the renewals. If they appeal and it goes early, CDE will not hear anything that came early. And so, yeah, you'd have that lame duck year. At least that's my understanding. But follow the information on the renewal webpage. But what if the early renewal was approved? So because there's no stacking of years, you start from that. So if they bring it in now, then they lose that extra year of the renewal. So there's no stacking. You don't get to go to the end and then add the 5 years. So you lose from that moment that approval happens, that's the new term.
Thanks a lot, Michelle. That was very helpful. And that's all we have.
All right, Corey.
All
Tell us
right,
about Southern.
you got it. We had a full house. Appreciate everybody's participation. Had a good variety of questions. We did continue the conversation with DA in Riverside County and San Diego County are the geo leads for the South. And I was in a meeting yesterday and gathered some more information. So they're still, geo leads are still kind of processing and what that will look like. A lot of the conversation with charters was wait and see. So we'll do that waiting and seeing for another week and a half or so, and then we'll have, a number to go with, and then a plan to develop around how we're going to provide support. But in general, just real quick on that, I know the geo leads are looking for some consistent practices or amongst the geo leads around the state when it comes to DA for charters. So there may be some alignment and overlap with other geo leads as they try to pool their resources together with DA for charter schools. We had conversations around, the work that we do ongoing with charters outside of compliance. That builds into the narrative for renewal, for specifically developing plans and monitoring plans and renewal time. Did the plans work or not work? But essentially, there's more to the story when it comes to renewal on the authorizer end than just compliance driven and dashboard driven, and just making notes and telling the whole story on both sides of the charter and the authorizer when we're working with schools. There's a DAS question. So we were able to talk about DAS schools. And I did share LACO and us here at Riverside County. We have done a pilot program nationally around creating alternative metrics. If anybody needs support in that, let us know. We talked about independent study and the non-participation rate when it comes to testing, and the higher implication with the penalty for non-participation in academics. So Kathy was just curious if there's anybody having those conversations specifically with independent study and non-participation rate when it comes to testing. And I think that was it.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. So a question just popped in saying, I thought there's not supposed to be any early renewals. So per the October 13th letter, there really shouldn't be any early renewals. However, there is nothing in Ed Code that says that renewals cannot, Ed Code says that as soon as a petition is delivered with a signed certification, then timeline starts. However, if it gets submitted early, you have to follow all of those specific rules that go along with it. There should not be any early renewals. I understand that to fulfill all of the appeal timelines, it'll take about 14 months. You need to be cognizant of that timeline and ensure that renewals are submitted during that final year of their term. So watch timelines, watch all of it, and when in doubt, talk to your attorney. Make sure that you watch timelines and talk to your attorney and follow the direction on the CDE website with regards to renewals. All right. Any other questions? Check your MOUs. Thank you, Joe. That's absolutely, watch your MOUs. All right, next slide. So we are now at our meeting survey. Please, we love feedback. Please provide your feedback. Here is the link, and I will go take a look. We want to make sure that we get lots of feedback. And speaking of feedback, thank you all for participating. CASI has a goal of interacting with at least 50% of our authorizers across the state. And I would like to announce that we have met that goal. So thank you, everyone. We now have interacted with 169 different authorizers, and we have also increased our meetings with all of our charter schools and our potential authorizers as well. And I cannot say enough thank you for all of your continuing participation. We really appreciate you coming and listening and staying and coming back. So hopefully this is a service that is very helpful. Next slide, please. So upcoming CASI events, our next charter chat will take place in January. So we will not be meeting in December. Even though I know you all love our charter chats, we're going to honor everyone being able to spend time with the families. So we'll see you in January. Also, we have our January quarterly regional training on authorizers and charter school facilities. Brianna Garcia will be presenting. And please note that it's on a Tuesday, not our regular Fridays. And it'll be in the afternoon from 1 to 3. And it's only virtual, so please come register and visit. Also, we've been hearing lots of people are in the process of changing jobs or coming new. We do have opportunities for Authorizer 101 and Fiscal 101. And if you want that in person or if you'd like it virtually, please reach out to CASI so that we can provide you some of that additional support and assistance. Next slide. We also have our authorizer partners with the County Charter Authorizer Connection Professional Learning. On January 26th, they will be providing school governance oversight with FCMAT and the National Charter Schools Institute. So, and then they will also be doing renewals in May. Next slide. Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you for the CCAP conference on the save the date.
Yeah, and this is not a new slide for those of you who have been on our charter chats recently with the information. We do have the link to the conference page. The new thing this month, though, is that you now can book the hotel at the discounted conference rate. That'll be live until Tuesday, May 24th, but we had some inquiries of people being interested in getting that booked already. So we asked them to speed up the timeline of putting it on, and we'll be getting the registrations live. We hope very soon. We're putting some final details on that because we also had some inquiries about people wanting to register already. So stay tuned.
All right, I'm going to circle back around to our survey. We've only gotten 13 responses. So please, 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 please fill out that survey so that we get more information. And that's it. We'll see you next year. Happy holidays. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.